Praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rcha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well and labor in the word and doctrine. Shalom and peace. May that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. We're going to go into this. This is an article from BBC News. Musk startup NEURA link seeks people for Charagma trial. Right, obviously it says that verbatim, but for algorithmic purposes, Charagma. And what does Charagma mean? It's the word for the MARK in Revelation 13:16, which we will touch on. This should be brief because more often than not, we're going into this. All right, so if you've not heard it, well, here it is. This is the Charagma. According to biblical prophecy, there's a certain M to the ARK that no man will be able to buy or sell, without, including the number and the name, which that goes into the same thing, really. So it says, I've read the title, so let's read the body of text. It says Elon Musk's BCI startup, NL, has begun recruiting people for its first human trial. And they've done it on a monkey. They've done, various animal tests. I think they did it on a pig as well, if I'm not mistaken. However, this is now it's getting serious. It was already serious, but it's getting serious. Right, first human trial. I said the company's goal is to connect human brains to computers, and it wants to test its technology on people with paralysis. Now, on the surface, it may seem a benevolent, philanthropic, venture. Why wouldn't you want to, help people with paralysis? That's the argument. However, biblically, when we're lining it up with a prophetic lens on it, it has a lot more sinister background than it first seems, maybe to them that are without. It says a robot will help implant a BCI that will let them control a computer cursor or type using thoughts alone. And this sounds like some Black Mirror shit, some sci-fi shit, but here it is. And this has been preached from a long time ago. And at one point it seemed, crazy. It seemed unbelievable. Now that'll never happen. All right, fair enough. They have them in cats, dogs, pets. However, it'll never be human, or it'll never take, wide. It'll never become mainstream, for example. But you're seeing mainstream news outlets coming out with more and more information as time progresses, as time goes on. It says, but rival companies have already implanted BCI devices in humans. It says NL won U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approval for its first human clinical trial in May, a critical milestone after earlier struggles to gain approval. And they had some controversy in the manner that certain of these BCIs were transported, in regards to health, contamination, etc. However, it seems to have taken off, despite their initial challenges. It says the FDA approval represented an important first step that will one day allow our technology to help many people, NL said at the time. Again, if you are taking a biblical stance, which is truly what it is, it's not just some deranged, so-called conspiracy theorist. However, it may be portrayed by them that are without faith in the Holy Bible. This is a biblical belief. It can be biblically substantiated when you go into the word charagma. It goes into a cutting and incision, and it itself is carved in, carved out as an idol, a graven image, and then it is cut, you are cut, and it is inserted into you. So you got two for one there. Again, it may seem very helpful. Who wouldn't want, paralysis and, better living conditions for, people? Even as much as we go into, well, there's a judgment here, there's a judgment there. When it's all said and done, a lot of people in the kingdom of heaven, people will be living a higher standard, a higher quality of life. So by no means are we against that. However, the means, which this is implemented is absolutely adversary, to what the scriptures speak on. It's ultimately the Lord controlling it, but it doesn't mean that you should take it, right? The Lord controls good and evil. It's written in Isaiah 45 and verse 7. So it says, read that. It says the company had sought approval to charagma its devices in 10 people, former and current employees told news agency Reuters. The number finally agreed upon is not known. And, it's not a major, it's an interesting piece of information, but it's not a major piece of information in the total puzzle. The fact is, this big company with big backing, by mainstream tech icons, if you like, is there, and it's going to be spoken about, and it's slowly, public opinion may be swayed, but either way, there is an intention by certain individuals to make this, a wide scale or a more, mainstream device, because it's under the guise of helping. So going to this, says brain signals. At the start of the 6-year study, a robot would be used to surgically place 64 flexible threads, thinner than a human hair, onto a part of the brain that controlled movement intention, the company said. These allow NL's experimental N1 implant, powered by a battery that can be charged wirelessly, to record and transmit brain signals wirelessly to an app that decodes how the person intends to move. Now, on the surface, is there things that possibly could go wrong there? Just even on a secular level. But we'll move on. It says the company says people may qualify for the trial if they have quadriplegia due to injury or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Excuse me, I'm not laughing at the disease, but I'm laughing at my struggle to pronounce it. They set me up there. It says a disease in which the nerve cells in the spinal cord and brain degenerate. It says while Mr. Musk's involvement raises the profile of NL, he faces rivals, some with a track record dating back nearly 2 decades. Utah-based BlackRock Neurotech charagmed its first of many BCIs in 2004. Right, and the first one that was ever in someone was in 1998. You can look that up, but you can see how much it's really ramped up, and the fact that you've got companies that have rivalries, shows that it's on a much larger scale than just a couple people randomly, seeking out on their own, off their own back, trying to get it. There's backing, right? Precision Neuroscience, formed by an NL co-founder, also aims to help people with paralysis, and its implant resembles a very thin piece of tape that sits on the surface of the brain and can be implanted via a cranial microslit, which it says is a much simpler procedure. Meanwhile, existing devices are generating results, full stop. It says in 2 separate recent US scientific studies, implants were used to monitor brain activity when a person tried to speak, which could then be decoded to help them communicate. Dr. Adrian Rapo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, a research associate in the Neural Interfaces Lab at Imperial College London, told the BBC that NL no doubt has an advantage in terms of charactation. It says, as their procedure was robotically assisted. It says, but Dr. Rapo, who is also co-founder of neural implant startup Mint Neuro, which I've never heard of personally, said it wasn't clear how their method for converting brain signals into useful actions would do better than that used by BlackRock Neurotech, for example, and whether it is able to stay accurate and reliable over time, a known issue in the field. So you've got, information that's given, but there's also, it's positioned from, well, it's going to help people with paralysis. That's what they're setting out to do. So as far as I'm concerned, that's, that is given a positive spin. I'll say it like that. I will read this now. Revelation 13:16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And the he here is Babylon the Great. Scripturally identified as Babylon the Great would be the United States of America. Right, so this was, the when you go into the dragon, it goes into the pagan Roman Empire, and from that you have, countries today that would link directly back to that. Right, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a what? A mark, which is a charagma. It says a stamp, an imprinted mark, of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. Now, when you go into it, there's no singular antichrist, right? It says it, was it 1 John 2 and 18, antichrist many. So there's many. However, there's a doctrine within Christianity that teaches there's a singular antichrist, which is not a biblical doctrine. You can't find where it says the antichrist singular. But anyway, so that one is contested. Verse, so not verse, but definition B: the mark branded upon horses